I was a troop with the state police from 1974 to 2001, 26 years. We talked about what brought me to the state police, and I'm a legacy on the state police. My father was on the state police from 1948 to 1970. He was in the 33rd RTT. He retired as a lieutenant. So I had troopers in my house when I was a little kid, 5, 6. They were all 9 feet tall with the breeches and the boots, and different places my father was stationed. He was the station commander at Concord during the 60s, and we went to visit the barracks on occasion. And his last assignment, he was the duty lieutenant at Framingham, which was then A Troop headquarters. He retired and went to work for American Express as the head of corporate security for New England, so he did quite well for himself. But he had a rough and tumble. He served in World War II, went ashore D-Day +14, so he had some hard recollections that he never talked about. So he was a very strong disciplinarian. He didn't get away with too much. In fact, funny story, they would go away to the barracks for 4 days on, 2 days off. And whatever we did wrong, my mother would punish us for, then she'd tell him he'd punish us again. It's like, what happened to double jeopardy, you know? But it is what it is. So he never encouraged me to go to the state police, but I wanted to be a trooper since I was like 10 years old. I found a flyer for the next exam probably in the early 60s, and I took the exam in 73 and went to the 58th RTT in 74, which was the first class off that list. So we had some real rock stars in my class. We had Colonel Hillman, Lieutenant Colonel Reagan, Lieutenant Colonel Caulfield. So we had some real sharp guys in our class. My first assignment was SP Foxborough, which was a great station. In fact, I got transferred 7 months later to Framingham, which was my home station, but I really didn't want to go. But a more senior guy was at Framingham. He wanted to go to Foxborough, and the state police has a rule, after 5 years you can bid your station. So off to Framingham I went. You know, I went to Northeastern for the College of Criminal Justice, and I majored in, obviously, criminal justice, and I have a minor in forensics. So I have a strong background in all the stuff that you see on CSI. In fact, I could spell CSI before it was a popular show. So I was at Foxborough, went to Framingham, then I went to the Turnpike, and I did 6 years on the Pike. And I was supposed to go to the Middlesex CPAC unit to do, you know, bigger investigations. And I got a call from a lieutenant colonel who said that they were looking for an instructor for criminal investigation. And according to my resume, I have a minor in forensics and what I consider going to the criminal investigation program. And I went, no, I want to go to Middlesex CPAC. Here's a point of information. If your boss somewhat suggests that, would you consider taking an assignment, that means you're going. It wouldn't have made any difference what I said that day. I was going to criminal investigation program, but I was there 5 years, and we trained 7,500 police officers. It was my best assignment. We talked earlier about what the proudest, and that would be it. We sent 7,500 police officers to their own crime scenes with much better knowledge. we taught all aspects of criminal investigation, crime scene photography, fingerprinting. So you could come in as a rookie officer, and by the time you finished all of our courses, you would have a good handle on what you were doing. So I was really proud of that. But then I came here to the museum when I retired. I first went with the Former Troopers Association. My father had been president of the Former Troopers for like 10 or 12 years, and I felt a need to carry on his commitment. And they were looking for people to come to the museum. And I had a friend on the board, Bill Guerin, who passed away a while ago, and he suggested I could do more here than I could at the Former Troopers. So I came here. I was on the board in like 2012. And the museum itself was started by troopers from the 1950s. Dick Barry, Paul Matthews, who else? You know, they were all senior guys. And they were all strong members of the Former Troopers. So the Former Troopers kind of sponsored the original start of the museum. And now we have surpassed that and become our own entity. A lot of people think that we're part of the state police, but in fact we're a 501(c) private nonprofit. So we have to generate all of our own income, which at times is challenging. So we stay busy. This museum, since our move from, originally we were in Grafton at the old Grafton Barracks, and it was a good place to start. But we had a fire there in 2017, which forced a move to a private facility in South Grafton. And we were there like 5 years, and the landlord sold the building. So it seemed to be a tragedy for us at first, but as it turned out, we came here, and our landlord, Osterman, takes very good care of us. And this is an antique building, built in 1906, so it fits right into our museum. So it's quite spacious. We had 1,500 feet of space when we were in the Grafton Barracks. We now have 6,000 square feet, and the basement holds another 4,000 for storage. So I'll match our museum against any other small museum. And the troopers are now, as part of your efforts, are realizing that we're a viable organization. We suffered through COVID like everybody else. And Lieutenant Eric Bernstein is the vice president, and he keeps us on an even keel. He takes care of the gift shop, and it's amazing. And the lieutenant from Westford PD, Herb Cody, is our director of displays. And come to see the museum. I mean, it's done chronologically, and it flows, and it's really impressive. And we have the 8-foot-tall horse for the mounted unit, which he was able to acquire for us. Prior to that, the saddle sat on saddle stands, which is not very impressive when you have an 8-foot-tall horse that has a rider. It kind of takes over the room. I'm not the most athletic person, so I struggled a bit with my PT. I had heard through my father's sources that my academy class was going in September, so I was gearing to be ready in September, and all of a sudden they changed the date and it made it June. So I was partially ready. I bet you the first day of the academy, we probably did 400 push-ups. I was probably around 100 at the time, so I struggled a bit for the first week or so. But the academy is no joke. They have a lot of stuff to teach. They have to instill discipline, and they make it strict. We had some very funny times at the academy, though. I remember myself and 2 other recruits were sent up to the roof of the academy, which is now headquarters in Framingham. They had a giant mud wasp nest that was attached itself to the building. So if you know anything about beehives and mud wasps, they go in the nest at night. So they sent us up at night with like a pillowcase to put the nest in. And we managed to take the nest down and get off the roof in the dark without killing ourselves, which I thought was a pretty impressive. But I had some really good assignments. I was a member of the State Police Underwater Recovery Unit from 1983 through 96. And we were busy. We probably had 1 or 2 calls a week. Now they have calls, more than 1 call a day. And we did evidence recovery. We did body recoveries. We did surveys. In 1987, the QE2 came to Boston when Digital had their big conference, and they were fearful of a terrorist attack. So the State Police dive team, along with the Boston Police dive team, swept the 2 boats, the QE2 and the Olympus, twice a day, looking for limpet mines and other issues. It was a 2-week course. Diving in Boston Harbor at the time wasn't the cleanest water, but we managed. And we had a rock-solid connection with the Boston Police Dives team, so we did a lot of other things. And the amazing thing is the bad guys think when they throw evidence into the water, river, ocean, or wherever, off a bridge, that it's gone forever. And we have numerous cases to prove that that is not necessarily true, and we brought the evidence back, gave it to the homicide detectives and to the DA's office, and they prosecuted some of these people. And they had some fairly big cases that why they thought if you threw it in the water it was gone forever, I don't know, but it was false logic, as they said. And so between my time at the academy and my time on the dive team, I really felt I had a great career. My other assignments in my 26 years were always on the road. I went back to Framingham, and then I went back to the Turnpike. And the road trooper is the backbone of this job. We have many other assignments, but the majority of people know us in our 2-tone blue cruisers, enforcing highways and covering accidents and stuff. And in my 20 years on the road, there were a lot of accidents, a lot of fatals, and it's you were bringing help to people on their worst day. Being involved in a fatal accident, you have to feel bad for the victims. So, and they said what my worst day was. I had an accident on the Turnpike eastbound in Hopkinton, where a police officer from Suffolk County, New York, was going to Maine on vacation. He had his wife and a daughter in the front seat of the pickup, and he had 4 of his kids in the back, in the bed of the pickup truck, and they got rear-ended by a drunk from down the Cape, and we had 6 critically injured victims, but all of his kids lived. One of the kids in the other car was severely injured, and I'm not so sure he survived. but you certainly got to strengthen your first aid. And on the turnpike, we had portable stretchers that folded and went in the back of the station wagons. And unfortunately, because of the distance on the turnpike, you could wait half an hour, 45 minutes for an ambulance to come. And then they had a half an hour to go back. So on a few occasions, one trooper would leave his cruiser, come in the second cruiser and put the patient in the back of the cruiser and then take him to the hospital, which cut the response time back down to a half an hour, which we saved a few. And I had the good fortune, I guess, of I was doing a ride-along with the Air Wing back in 1975, and we landed on 128 to take a pedestrian who tried to cross 128 at rush hour. They didn't make it, but we got her to the hospital, and she survived. It was very impressive to land in the helicopter, and then the pilot, Clem Torigny at the time, got his portable stretcher and had the patient bundled and ready to go, and I sat in the back and monitored her vitals, and she survived. It was one of the good saves. So, but the job was a challenge, from being a road trooper early in my career to go into the academy to teach criminal investigation. We had classes 50 weeks out of 52. We didn't have classes at Thanksgiving and none at Christmas because nobody wants to go. But other than that, we had at least one class and sometimes two classes. And from the the critiques of the students, they got a lot. I brought the FBI behavioral science unit to Framingham State summer of '84 for a homicide seminar. We had 300 detectives take that seminar, and we got high grades for that. Before the behavioral science unit was really well known, those guys got 3 days of intense, what I call secondary investigative techniques. I mean, you call the behavioral science unit when you're running out of your own leads and you're looking for guidance, and they give you a profile of who they think your bad guy is. And they're pretty accurate. In fact, they're amazingly accurate now. And now they have, 3 different FBI shows on the television, so we must have done something right.